حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ونعم المولى ونعم النصير 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 अल्लाह मदद फरमा या मुश्किल कुशा मेहरबान मौला मदद फरमा मदद फरमा मदद फरमा Ya Ali Madad to all friends. This poem, if you like to get it for yourself, do ask Naveen Sahaba, she can share the whole book of this beautiful praises of Imam, such beautifully written that when you read it, your heart just melts with these words. Such a beautiful expression of love for our Imam. Subhanallah. Once again, Yali Madad to all friends, we have gathered here today to discuss a Quranic verse. And some of you might have attended the session in Gujarati, but we will build on the session which we did have on two types of armies and whose army are we in. This is related to that topic, but we are going to go further deeper into this topic. So today's topic is explanation of Quranic verse 48/4, which is Walillahi junudus samawati wal arz, which means, and to Allah belong the army or the soldiers of the heavens and the earth. All the armies of the heavens and earth belong to Allah. This is chapter 48, verse 4. Now let us review Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah's beautiful farman from Kalame Imam Mubin, Zanzibar, February 19th, 1925. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. You will go to paradise with your luminous body. You will go to paradise with your luminous body. The Isme Azam which you have, no one else has it in this, no one else in this world has. The Isme Azam which you have, no one else in this world has. Our religion is of spirituality. Therefore, you have to have complete knowledge of it. This is just one part of this farman, and I have separated intentionally so we can truly see what Imam is telling us. Alhamdulillah, we are so blessed to have the Isme Azam of the Imam. When we go to Imam seeking Isme Azam, first we have to become the members in Baitul Khayal. When we commit ourselves to Baitul Khayal monthly, we become the Lashkar, we become the soldiers, we become the army of the Imam with our own free will. And if we, out of those Lashkar, Baitul Khayal monthly can be very big, but from that monthly, those who choose to have Isme Azam, because it is voluntarily, those who choose to have Isme Azam, Imam will mercifully bestow the Isme Azam, the supreme name for that Mu'min Salih. So Alhamdulillah, Isme Azam is such a treasure, only Ismailis have that. Nobody outside Ismaili Mazhab can have Isme Azam. Now, Imam in this Farman says that along with the Ism-e-Azam, we do need to have complete knowledge of it. Of what? Of our tariqah. Why? Because our tariqah is not physical tariqah. Our tariqah is batni tariqah. Batin meaning hidden, meaning invisible, meaning essence. When something is hidden, something is invisible to us, something which we have to seek as if it's a treasure. And that's how we call ourselves seekers. We have to seek that knowledge. We need to seek complete knowledge of our tariqah. And it is a difficult task actually. Why? Because it is batni tariqah. Islam is a religion and there are great number of Muslim ummah. But within this Muslim ummah, we are like a grain of a salt, a dot, literally. Being 20 million Ismaili, we are a very small number following this tariqah. And the essence of Deen-e-Haq, the Deen of Allah, is truly in Ismaili tariqah. Why? Because we have living Imam. And when we seek the hakiki knowledge, true knowledge, deep understanding of our batni tariqah, for that, a mu'min has to willingly take upon himself or herself to learn this knowledge. So Ism-e-Azam, free will. Willingly we do go to Imam to seek that blessing. Knowledge is exactly same way. Those who are seekers, they would willingly commit themselves, come forward. For them, there is a glad tidings. And what is that? And that is, Imam says that if you want to go to paradise, the only way one can go to paradise is by having luminous body. This body cannot go to paradise. This body is from dust, it will go to dust. We do need luminous body. How can we get that luminous body? When Imam says that if you want to go to paradise, you need your nurani badan. In order for us to have that nurani badan, we need the ibadat with Ism-e-Azam and complete knowledge. This nurani badan is for those who seek it, who want it, who desire it willingly. Why? Because in the physical world, when we seek it, we work for it, we can get it. It is amazing to realize that someone can get this nurani badan while living in the physical life. We don't have to die to get nurani badan. This nurani badan one can get during their lifetime. That is the amazing part. And Imam is telling us that you can get that nurani badan. If you were to study Imam's Baitul Khayal Farman, Imam says it very clearly. So I hope that we are able to connect here that when we are saying that all the army belongs to Allah, army of the heavens and the earth belongs to Allah. Those who are in Baitul Khayal, who have Ism-e-Azam, they will definitely seek knowledge, and for them there is Nurani Badan. They are the true ones who are the army of the Imam. Those who will be bestowed with Nurani Badan. Now this is Hazri Imam's Farman. Maulana Hazri Imam says in this Farman, and this was Pakistan, January, February 1970. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadi wa ali Muhammad. You have heard in the Farman that I have made to Lashkar. So this is the mandli where Imam is giving Ism-e-Azam, but Imam is referring to the Farman which he had given to the whole Baitul Khayal mandli members. So Imam says, you have heard the Farman that I have made to Lashkar. And then Imam says that there are two parts in life for every human being. There is a material, the physical part of life, which ends with the human being, when the human being, man or woman, dies. And at that time, he is buried physically. He returns to the earth, to the sand, to the dust. from which Allah has created him. So we do understand this is from dust and it is going to go to dust. And then there is the life, which is the spiritual life. Every man and woman is born with a soul. And when a man or a woman leaves this earth physically, when he or she dies, his or her soul continues to exist and exist eternally. The soul never dies. Nothing would never end the existence of the soul which Allah has created. Nothing will terminate the existence of that soul. Because of this, it is compulsory upon all spiritual children to pray. But there are those who have said, we wish to give more time to the purification. And I can say those who are here, blessed Jamaati members, because when we give more time, we are those who say, Mawla, we want to give more time so we can be purified. So Mawla says, those who have said we wish to give more time to the purification of our souls, it is not sufficient for us to say our prayers. So I hope you can see, first Imam is saying, for everyone, it is compulsory that you pray. But then there is a group within the Jamaat who says, no Mawla, I need to do more than just prayers. We wish to give a certain amount of time in our lives to concentration, to thinking what is bandagi of Allah and trying to elevate our souls. This is the meaning of bandagi. Now what Mawla is saying, we have to truly pay attention here. That not only that we are going to give time to ibadat, but to thinking too. And if you link it to Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah's Farman, Mawla says, you got to do khayal, sit in imagination for 2 hours. And that is not in ibadat time, that is separate. So Mawla is saying, we got to think what is the meaning of Allah. In order to think, we need to have knowledge. Otherwise, thinking will only go to worldly thoughts. We need knowledge to be able to think in the right direction. When you have that, then that is the intention, that is the way of elevating your own souls. Only through knowledge we will be able to elevate our souls along with the ibadat. Ibadat is first. But then Imam says this is the meaning of bandagi. Meaning, when we say bandagi, we only limit it to Nurani time, which is incorrect. Bandagi is from slavery. A slave is a slave 24 hours. And this is the slave or a banda of Mawla, lover of Mawla, seeker of true knowledge. Lover is saying to Imam that we want to invest more time because only prayers are not sufficient, and they will sit in ibadat, they will seek knowledge, and they will elevate their darjat. Imam is saying this is the meaning of bandagi. So this is the farman given to Imam's army who actually have come forward. First is Lashkar, the whole Baitul Khayal Mandali, not Jamaat. Within the Jamaat, those who want to come into Lashkar, because becoming a Lashkar is an intentional task. If you want to, then you can. If you don't want to, nobody is forcing you. So intentionally, those come into Baitul Khayal, they become the Lashkar. But within the Lashkar, then there are those who say, that is not enough, I want to go further. Meaning, they are interested to elevate the ranks of their souls. They want to take their souls higher. The Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah's beautiful farman, Imam says that in this farman, Nagpur, Kutch, 25th November 1903. And I'm paraphrasing that this farman, Mawla says that when you do ibadat and bandagi, if you will remain known with the path, like you will have the knowledge of your deen, remain known with the path of the deen, then only you will protect yourself from shaitanic trap. Because shaitan is constantly wanting to enroll us in his army. There are two types of armies, Shaitanic army and Imam's army. So Shaitan is always wanting us to be enrolled in his army. Imam says there are human beings who work so hard, purify themselves, walk on the path of true knowledge and ibadat, and they make themselves like angels. Do not make Shaitan your friend. Do not be talking unnecessarily. Do ibadat bandagi and protect yourself from Shaitan. Do not become the member of the army. Our tariqah is the true tariqah. Those who have understood the meaning of our tariqah, meaning those who have realized, Imam says those who have tasted this fruit, which is our deen, they will never go out. They will never eat grass. Why? When we eat this pure fruit, the heart becomes pure. So in this Farman, Imam is drawing our attention to another type of army which exists all the time, side by side. So there are people who live life on the default. Whatever it is, whatever I see, I believe, I work, I eat, sleep, and that's it. Nothing more. And then there are those who become the army of Shaitan. So there are two types of army constantly going on in this physical world. Now let us understand how Quran talks about it. Chapter 5 verse 56 says, and whoever is an ally of Allah and his messenger and those who have believed, indeed the party of Allah, army of Allah, and they will be predominant. So those who are believers, believers of Imam, meaning they are believers of Prophet too, and they are believers of Allah because it is one and the same. They will definitely be in the army of Allah. The word is Hizbullah. Versus Hizbullah, there is Hizbush Shayateen, and that is mentioned in chapter 58, verse 19. In that, it is said, Shaitan has overcome them. Who? Those जो शैतान की बाजी में आ गए. The way Imam said, do not be coming into Shaitan's bazi. But those who got into Shaitan's bazi, Quran says, Shaitan has overtaken them. So he has made them forget the remembrance of Allah. They are the party of Shayateen. Verily, it is the party of Shayateen that will be the losers. So very interestingly, there's a beautiful message in this verse. Though it is a verse about Hizbush Shayateen, the army of Shaitan, but the criteria is given to us very clearly that those who forget the zikr, yadgiri, remembrance, then they automatically, without them knowing, there may not be any intention made, they will get into the army of Shaitan, because Shaitan is constantly looking for enrolling people into his army, constantly. Those whose hearts are not in remembrance, automatically, without their realization, they will be doing the work of Shaitan. And according to Allah in the Quran, they are the losers. No matter how big is the Shaitan's army, no matter how big his army is, but victory will always be of Mu'mineen. So in these two verses, we are learning about, again, two types of army, Hizbullah and Hizbush Shayateen, 5 by 56 and 58 by 19. So I hope that you are noting down the verses. Now, again, supporting the same Quranic verse, our peers have taught the same thing. Can we imagine that? This is Imam Begum Shah's Ginan. She says, Eji hardam zikr karna surat nirat un par dharna, pir shah ka jaap japna, आठ जाम ले लो नहार, तुम चेत मन मेरा. Upon every breath, remember the Lord and focus your attention and love upon him. remember the word of Pir Shah and do it over the entire night. And she's used the word 8, which is 3 hours, representing 3 hours of the night time, that a Mu'min Salik has to do the zikr. Not going into detail of that timings, but the essence, the message, what we are getting is that we got to stay in remembrance. How? Every breath. To make intention every breath that I am in the army of Imam. Every intention, every breath. Then, in other words, Eji gat mahe milo nito nit. Pehle mano shariat, tariqat और हकीकत. मारिफत में मन कुमार तुम चेत मन मेरा. As a first principle, believe in the Sharia, which are principles, doctrines, what we need to do. Then follow the way or method of tariqat, how to go about it. And then internalize the inner mysteries, hakikat. Our tariqa is hakikati tariqa. And hakikat is hidden. Hakikat is something which has to be found. It has to be sought. Otherwise, it doesn't come automatically. What comes is a physical deen. When we go to Jamaat Khana and do what we need to do, it's a physical deen. For us to be able to learn about Batni deen, the true Dawat-e-Haq, the true religion, we need to have knowledge. We need to seek marifat. And that only comes through knowledge. Why are we doing that? So we can kill the carnal soul. We can transform ourselves from that soul, the nafs amara, which is like a janwar, which is like an animal, and become angelic. Nafs lawama, conscientious soul. The nafs, the soul which is guided by Imam. Then there's a beautiful hadith by Prophet Muhammad. Prophet Muhammad says every person has two companions or friends. One is an angel, another is a jinn, shaitan. All the time, these two energies, these two companions are there for every person. And very interestingly, Quran says, chapter 43, verse 36, that whoever is blinded from remembrance of most merciful, we appoint for him a devil, and he is to him a companion. Can we imagine that? The second, when we are not in remembrance of our Imam, we are with the devil, with the shaitan. All the time, these two energies are there to draw our attention to them. When we are doing the zikr, the angel who has been assigned to us becomes stronger and continues to give us strength when we need it. Makes us strong, reminds us to stay in remembrance. But when we do not make that intention, niyat is very important. When there is no niyat, of course, the shaitan is winning the war. So I hope that we are understanding that how easy it is to go astray, how simple it is when we are not in realization, when we are not intellectually, cognitively, अकल के साथ ध्यान अपना नहीं रखा, फौरन से शैतान की आर्मी में भर्ती हो गए. Constantly we got to stay in intention, in remembrance. Every word, every thought has to be intended. We are humans and we can control what we say and what we think. It is in our control. When we give the control away, when we become unconscious, then shaitan overpowers, and then he continues to keep our mind busy with worries, with useless thoughts. And the time passes, minutes, hours, days, years, and life is past. In opposed to that, there is an angel who is waiting for us to give him the attention. As soon as we give him the attention by staying in remembrance, we start becoming the companion of that angel, and then we continue to go further in that journey. Imam Sultan Ahmad Shah has talked about in his Farman very beautifully, very many times, teaching us that how to be smart. Because Shaitan is very clever. Shaitan assesses us and identifies our weaknesses and puts traps on us according to our weaknesses. So I hope that we do not need to review this Farman. We do know that. And these Farmans are, if someone wants to study, Zanzibar, 2nd September 1905, and Ahmedabad, 12 February 1896. Both are talking about becoming careful so you do not become the army of Shaitan. Shaitan is not in one form. Shaitan is jinni, meaning invisible, coming to our mind as a thought, whispers. And Shaitan is also insi. It can come as a family member, it can come as a co-worker or anybody, provoking us to sin, provoking us to forget the remembrance of Imam. So we have to have that smartness, that vigilance in our mind, in our soul, that we are able to recognize where and how the Shaitan is trying to trap us. We say, no, I'm not going to come into your trap, no matter how much you try. Why? Because we will stay in remembrance. When we are staying in remembrance, it cannot penetrate. What does Shaitan fear? Shaitan fears the name of Imam. When we are in the name of Imam, he has to leave us. He cannot stay with us. So the special army of the Imam. Now these are two references. This is good, glad tidings. I would love to share with you so you can understand that how his madad comes to Mu'mineen. In history, when we read about Jang-e-Badr, in Jang-e-Badr, the Muslims were very limited in number. In reality, they were only 313. And the army in front of them had camels, horses, and elephants, and 10,000 soldiers. How many? 10,000 soldiers. Now, where is 10,000 versus 313? Paigambar is praying to Allah that my army is very small and the opposite army is very powerful, very strong. And Allah says, fear not. In chapter 3, verse 124 and 125, Allah says that I will help you with army of angels, marked angels. Now here, the ta'wil of the marked angel is that they were invisible. Nobody could see them, but they were there. And what happens? Miraculously, these 313 Mu'mineen, who were so few in number, they were scared to see the army in front of them because they had all kinds of resources and amenities, whatever they needed to win the war. But they were defeated by the Mu'mineen. Similarly, when we take Imam's name, when we do zikr, when we learn ilm, there are so many times we feel that we are not able to do it. There are so many flaws, weaknesses, limitations that we cannot win this war. But if we believe in Imam, if we believe in his Faramin, if we are true believers, we have this knowledge, we would believe that he will send his angels to help us. What do we need to do? Stay in his remembrance. Seek his mercy and his help. Then there is a story of Suleiman in Quran, chapter 27, verse 17. It says that in his army, there were people in his court, there were jinns, and then there were birds. Now birds would fear humans. How come the birds were sitting with humans? And then humans will be scared of jinns. How come they were sitting with jinns? It doesn't make sense. Logically, it does not make sense. We live in this physical world. We do know birds go away, run away when the humans are around, until unless they are domestic birds. And then If anyone comes to know they are jinn, people will go far away, run away. But in Quran it says that in the army of Suleiman there were humans, jinns, and birds. What does this mean? The birds is an allegory. Birds is an allegory for angels. It is those humans who seek knowledge, who practice at Nurani time, who are always staying in remembrance, they themselves become angels. One of the characteristics of angels is that they can fly. They can fly. Another characteristics of an angel is they can become invisible. So in reality, what we are reading here in the army of Suleiman, in front of him, there were high-ranking Mu'mineen. They were high-ranking Mu'mineen. These Mu'mineens were with Hazrat Suleiman alayhi salam. So in other words, what we are all also, I hope that we are able to hear it, understand it, that we are saying that those high-ranking Mu'mineens whose ilm wa amal was such that they were pure, they were always in remembrance. They had elevated themselves to become angels. They had these characteristics of being able to fly, being able to hide, because jinn, pari, all these are actually from human souls only. So who is this special army of Imam? Those Mu'mineen who continue to do ilmu ibadat, zikru ibadat, ilmu amal with Girya Uzari, they will become angels. It is given in Imam's Farman. There is no doubt, there is no denying. They will become angels. And this other name for these angels is subtle bodies. In Quran, it is mentioned shirts, which is sarabil, means the same thing. Jisme misali, zilal or shadow, means the same thing. Garment, labus, same thing. Jisme falki, celestial body. Jisme nurani or nurani badan. Jama-e-bihishti, Jama meaning the dress of paradise, the attire of paradise. Ibdai body or Jussai Ibdaya. Fifth element. Fifth element. Now here, let me pause and just talk about this element. Those friends who were there studying the proof of Imamat, and they learned about four element. This is the fifth element. To elevate themselves so much so that those four elements which are in the universe, they go above those four and get into the fifth element. Fifth element, which means they became angels, higher ranking angels, meaning they are subtle. They have the Nurani Badan. Another example of the same name, level of the rank of the moment, which is angels, is also coat and umbrella. Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah actually talks about in his Farman that a moment always carries his coat and umbrella. And he's giving example of in Africa where it rains so frequently. So Imam says a smart moment is that who always has coat and umbrella, because you cannot get out and it will rain and you'll get wet. So you have to have your coat, you have to have your umbrella. And there are so many understanding which you would hear in Farman classes that you got to have your Isme Azam, you have to purify your deeds, or you have to have knowledge. But let me tell you today the higher ta'wil of that. Coat and umbrella means to have subtle body. That means to have Nurani Badan. Nurani Badan. So without Nurani Badan, one cannot get close to the Nur of Imam. Nurani Badan is needed for a Mu'min Salik to get to the Imam. If we are staying until the 4 elements, we are still in the universe. Yes, one can get higher levels, but it is the 5th element which takes us close to Imam, makes us become one with the Imam, having that subtle body, Nurani Badan. So Maulana Sultan Muhammad Shah's Farman, Maula says, where there is Didar, there is paradise. And remember that first Farman, which is repeated here, you will go to paradise in the attire of luminous body. If we want Didar, we do need to go to Jannat, Bihisht, not after dying, while living. If we want to go to Bihisht, we do need Nurani Badan. Not this physical body can have ever Didar of Imam. It is not possible because this body cannot handle that Didar. Yes, physical body can have physical Didar. But we always pray to Maula Bapa, Maula, give us Zahiri, Batini, Nurani Didar. If we want higher Didar, we do need to raise ourselves to higher level. So questions we can ask, what do we want? Do we only stay at the level of physical Didar, Zahiri Didar? If not, how can we get the higher level of Didar? What are the requirements to become an angel? What is the food of angels? And I'm sure you all know the food of angels is Zikr Ibadat, Ilmu Amal, Girya Uzari. These are the criterias. These are the food of angels. They are in constant remembrance. And we are not talking about heavenly angels. We are talking about earthly angels. We are talking about us, meaning we are talking about what is the path for us, what is possible for us. We are not talking about heavenly angels because we are not there yet. What can we do while living in this physical world? How can we become at that level where we can also have our Nurani Badan and can become one with the Imam? If you want to have that Didar is in Bihisht, it's in paradise. It is nowhere else. If you need Batini Nurani Didar, it is in paradise. And one can go to paradise only by having Nurani Badan. So that is the reason that we want this. We want this Badan so we can get to the Didar of Imam. Choice is ours. We got to reflect, we got to think, what do we want to do? Where do we, how far do we want to go? Are we intentionally intending to move forward, or without realization, Shaitan is keeping us in the trap? Only we ourselves can find that out and bring ourselves out of it. Kalam-e-Maula, Saburi teri tuj fateh deve, jis kisi upar aave bala, jo ve saburi kare to usko fateh deve, bujo aap Allah. सबूरी करन हार को रब दोस्त राखे, आप रब करे प्यार, बंदा भलावे जो सबूरी करे, तो कठन वेला रब होवे उसका यार. Your patience will give you success. So if someone says that I'm seeking knowledge for, let's say, a year or 2 years, why still I don't see success? Patience will give you success. This applies to anyone upon whom calamities befall. If there are problems, difficulties, issues, patience is the key. The one who exercises patience, to him success is granted by God. The Lord befriends the one who is patient. His Lord loves him very dearly. Noble is the creature who is patient. Then in difficult times, the Lord becomes his friend. Lord becomes his friend. When a Mu'min Salih starts walking on the path, Imam becomes his friend. Why? Because he's enrolled in the army, and Imam is the Amirul Mu'minin. He is our leader, he guides. When he guides, definitely the victory is ours. Success is ours. But we do need to stay humble and follow the farman of the Imam. खुशखबरी दियो आप जिव जब सबूरी की थी, जिस बंदे सबर किया तिसे फतेह रब ने दी थी। खालिक की सब खलकत जाने, कोई दुख देवे तो सबर करना, तू उस थी तू सही जीते ऐसा मन में धरना। Give glad tidings to your soul when you have exercised patience. The creature that has been patient has been granted success by the Lord. Knowing the creature's entire creation, if anyone does harm, be patient. Be patient. Then through that you will truly win over him. Keep this in your mind. Keep this in your mind. So no matter how many difficulties we are facing, how many sorrows we have, how many people in our life are bothering us, giving us hard time, patience is the most important thing.
Now we reach to conclusion of our session. We've been talking about Imam's army. And this army has very many different types of names. To begin with, first is angel. The way Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah has told us that you have two paths in front of you. One can become an angel and one can go down, uh, degrade themselves to an animal. So angels, subtle bodies, Jisme Nurani, Nurani Badan, all these terms are used for those who are in the army of Imam. So in conclusion, I would like to ask these questions from us. Whose Lashkar, whose army are we in? At what time? At what time? Meaning that are we consistently in the army of the Imam, or we do get enrolled in the army of Shaitan? Remember, there are Shaitan ki bazi. Shaitan is constantly after us. Do we recognize Shaitan ki bazi? And when we are in the Lashkar of Imam, are we able to increase that time? Are we committed to stay in the army of Imam? And then, do we realize when we are not in the army of Imam, when we are in trap of Shaitan, do we realize that? इल्म वाली रूह दर्जा बदर्जा ऊपर चढ़ती है. Those who have knowledge will know when they are trapped in Shaitan's army. And then when one recognizes that they are in the trap of Shaitan, how long does it take for them to get back to that army? Which army? Army of Imam. Does it take years of blindness? Does it take months? Does it take days or a day or an hour or a minute or in that moment? All these are actually referring to the level of knowledge and the darjat. Ilm wali ruh darja ba darja upar chadti. It is only with knowledge that one would recognize if they are entrapped of shaitan. And if one recognizes that they are in trap of shaitan, how long will it take for them to get back to the army of Imam? And then which zikr will help us in realization and in remembrance of this army which is there? And that zikr is given to us in chapter 48, verse 7. It says, وَلِلَّهِ جُنُودُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَلِلَّهِ جُنُودُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. To Allah belong the armies of the heavens and the earth. उसी के लश्कर हैं आसमानों और जमीन में. वलिल्लाहि जुनूदुस समावाति वल अर्ज़ वलिल्लाहि जुनूदुस समावाति वल अर्ज़. Shukran lillah walhamdulillah.
So I'm going to stop here. If any friends have any questions, do ask, please. Thank you.
Subhanallah, subhanallah. Friends, if you have any questions, you can come forward. You can unmute or post the questions in a chat.
I just have a simple question. You said Nurani Badan. Can you just spell that last word?
Say it again.
I
Nurani
think
Badan.
you used the word Nurani, those who have Nurani something attain paradise. Without that, you can't go to paradise. The luminous body, you used another term for it. Kept on saying Nurani with a B
Badan.
something.
Badan.
What?
Gujarati.
How can you spell that last word? Sorry.
Okay. B-A-D-A-N.
That's
Badan.
what does that mean?
Nurani body. Luminous body.
Okay. So it means the same thing. Okay, and when you talk about the four elements, were you talking about the air, the water, the air? Okay, so that's what you. No, it was just amazing, just so beautiful, the whole talk. I mean, the Farmans, the Kalami Mola. It was just like amazing. Thank you.
Shukran, Mama.
याली मदद बायमा
जी मुरारी मदन.
बायमा आप कोट और छतरी का जो बोले ना कि एक्चुअली बातिनी मीनिंग इज ल्यूमिनस बॉडी तो वो नहीं वो समझाओ ना बायमा क्योंकि अभी तक आमाल समझती थी और जिक्र
Remember, there are very many tawilat, right? So when we were at the age जब हमको समझना था कि जिक्र है, इसमें आज़म है, आमाल की पाकीज़गी है, that was correct. वो beginning का lesson था. अब आज हम ऐसी classes में बैठे हैं that we are seeking higher knowledge. हमारा जो है वो इल्म से थोड़ा सी क्या कहते हैं इल्मी maturity आ गई है, so we can learn higher concepts too. So the higher ta'wil of coat and chhatri is actually Nurani Badan. So what does that mean? If you have Nurani Badan, which is luminous body, subtle body, meaning that in physical sense, when someone is having this coat and chhatri, they will not get wet, right? Their clothes will stay protected, their head will stay protected. And that was being explained that if you are doing the ibadat of Isma Azam and you are protecting your amals, deeds, you are keeping yourself pure, so the sins were not attaching to you. And you were staying mommy. Now, the higher level is that if you have this Nurani Badan, no matter shaitan throws anything at you, this badan, this body is so powerful that let's say if you are in a below 0 degree temperature, way beyond below 0, nothing will happen to that body. Or say you are near sun, so hot, nothing can exist near that heat and in the sun, nothing will happen to Nurani Badan. This Badan is such that nothing can harm it. In fact, if I were to tell you more, that when we hear about UFOs, unidentified flying objects, what are those? What are those? What is that fifth element? It is that fifth element which is Nurani Badan. People don't know that, that's why they are calling it UFO. But in reality, it is Nurani Badan. The Tawilat has been given to us in our tariqah. Higher understanding is only given in our tariqah. Why? Because we have living Imam with us to guide us. And that's how we know that people don't understand. The whole world is after these things. What is that? Flying saucer, what is that? In reality, it is Nurani Badan.
Okay, thank you, Mama. Thank you so much, Mama.
Subhanallah, subhanallah. Any other friends? Any questions? You can come forward.
Yes, I do. Um, so, Maulana Sultan Muhammad Shahini's Kalam, if hopefully I got this right, and Farman in Kalam-e-Mola has said that you should aim for higher than paradise. Now, I get it, like we're so low. So for me, paradise is like a huge thing. But when he talks about that, I mean, I have some ideas of what that could mean, but that's one question because he says aim higher than paradise. The second thing is, he talks about I think I have heard references of human being angels, and I have again my sense to the answer to my own question, but I wanted to know what you thought because angels really are not given a choice. They're just pure beings. They only do good, and I can see how that state of being is necessary. But when I think of a human being an angel, I sort of struggle a little bit with it just because the state of being an angel means there is no choice. And as human beings, we always have a choice.
Okay,
So,
so thank you. Beautiful question, Shabira. Beautiful question. So first, when Imam says that Bihisht bhi to ek kaid khana hai, right? Bihisht is also a prison. And you are absolutely correct that what does that mean then? So for us, we do need to know that right now we are in Bihisht. We are in paradise with Imam. We are in the paradise of Imam. Every smiley is in the paradise of Imam. But this is a physical level of paradise. Paradise also has darjat in it. So the paradise we are talking about, it is higher than this paradise. We are truly living life in paradise with Imam, with his guidance, living very comfortably in security, living very prosperous lives. And with Imam's guidance, we are always in Bihisht. We are always in paradise. When we seek the essence, we want to go higher than this paradise. For them, those who want Batni and Nurani Didar, just not physical Didar, they want more than physical Didar. For them, they always would say, I will look for essence. I want to go deeper. I do want to find out what is the Hakikat. Because seeing Imam with physical eyes, it is still physical. It is full of nur, full of light. We are blessed. But that is not it. There is more to his light than what we are seeing with our physical eyes. So that is what it means to realize that someone who can get happy being with Imam in the physical life, that is to say that there is more. There is one answer. Second answer from Quranic reference. In Quran, it says that on the first heaven, there is light. On the first heaven, there is light, which is being lit for those who are unworthy so they can be pushed back. Meaning, in other words, what I'm saying, that those who are, let's say, not smiley, let's start from outside smiley tarika. There are people who do meditate. Very many religions do talk about meditation. There are people who very regularly meditate. When they meditate without Isma Azam, they do reach at the first heaven and they do see the light. And when they see the light, they get happy and they stay there. They cannot go above that. They cannot go above that. Second answer, let's say there's a smiley moment who is doing bandagi and they saw some kind of light and they got so happy because it happens. I've personally heard from some people, oh, I saw the light in my bandagi, I've gotten it, I'm done, and shukran wala, I don't need to worry about anything. That is the first light. Remember, in our tariqah, there are so many levels, so many darjat, that if we don't have knowledge, we would not know that there is more. And that is why knowledge teaches us to be able to find out what are the different types of lights, what does it mean, and what is higher and after that. So what we are talking about in reality, it's a very, very high status. But because it was related, and we do need to have hope, it is possible for us because we are with Imam. Imam's dua is with us. If we are very sincere and committed, it is possible for us. I truly believe that. And then the next question is that very beautiful question that angels do not have free will. You're absolutely correct. So there are two types of angels. Ones are heavenly angels and others are earthly angels. We are talking about angels who live in the earth as human. They do have free will. Those who live in heavens with the Noor, they don't have free will and they constantly do zikr ibadat. But the earthly angels, they submit their free will to Imam. That is why they are angels, because with their own willingness, they submit their free will to Imam. And they do zikr ibadat, ilm amal, giryazari to stay in consistent remembrance of Imam, and they are the army of Imam living in the physical world, being the angels. They are the ones who actually travel because they have the Nurani Badan. For example, let me give you a negative example because sometimes it helps to give negative example. Sometimes we are sitting, there is nothing going on, and a negative thought comes in our mind from nowhere. And if we are not conscious, that thought will lead to another thought, another thought, another thought, and then half an hour has passed. And the thought began, oh, she didn't say Yali Mother to me. Simple as that. She ignored me. That's it. And it kept on going on and on and on and on, and time is gone. Where did that thought come from? Have you ever paid attention? Shaitan came and whispered, invisible, whispered. Whatever we saw with our physical eyes, Shaitan whispered, we heard, we were not conscious, we heard, and that's it. A movie started happening. That has happened, this would be the reason, or I did that for her. All thoughts full of sinning, gossiping without any person but in our head, judging. If Shaitan is so powerful that Shaitan can come into our mind when we are even sitting in Jamaat Khana and whisper to us when we are doing zikr, do we think that Imam's angels are not powerful and come to us when we seek help from Imam and they would come in our being and help us out? Let me give you a Quranic reference. Chapter 6, verse 122. Study chapter 6, 122, in which Allah says that He walks among people with the light of Allah. He walks among people with the light of Allah. How and who is walking? The one who has elevated themselves to that level that now they are able to help Jamaati members, friends, by being in their alam-e-shakhsi, helping them, guiding them, reminding them, becoming strength for them when they are feeling weak. If Shaitan can always be present anywhere, everywhere during Ibadat time, do we think that Imam's angels are weaker? Why do we fear Shaitan so much and give him so much of importance and give no importance to his angels? Ji.
Subhanallah, subhanallah.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you.
If you can talk about a little bit on four elements, which we talked about, and then if you can talk a little bit more about fifth element, what is it?
We have been talking about fifth element. So what happens? That we get stuck in the terms. Stay in the essence, do not be stuck in the terms. I gave you 10 different terms. So there are very many terms meaning the same thing, and that's what we've been talking about. We've not gotten out of the fifth element. We've been talking about the fifth element. But let us talk about four elements. Where Nasir Khusro talks about four elements, and he says there is earth, water, air, and fire. Our universe is made of four elements: earth, water, air, and fire. It is due to these four elements, work, and processes that we have all what we see in our universe. For example, let's take the example of earth. When we have the earth, when the rain falls, there's a water, earth absorbs the water, then there'll be vegetation, there'll be growth, there'll be progress, there'll be fanayat. Earth will fana itself in the form of now growth of vegetation. Then there is air and fire. For that, let us take the example of a Momin Salik, a Mustajib, who allegorically we always say is like a earth. That Momin, who is a Mustajib, who became Mustajib, meaning said, I don't know the knowledge and I am seeking knowledge. First criteria, first principle of becoming humble and say, I don't know. No matter who you are, physically, wherever do you work, you say, I don't know and I'm willing to learn. That is the first stage of one becoming mustajib, meaning I'm open to receive the water. I'm willing to learn the knowledge. When the water is drawn in, then when the water is absorbed, there is elevation, there is growth, there is progress. Meaning what? Transformation. Molding can happen. And that moment as Salik continues to walk on the path, then there are properties of these four elements. For example, when we talk of air, air is light, air is transparent, meaning that Momin Salik can get the characteristics of air, meaning sin-free, गुनाहों से पाक, रूह हल्की फुल्की हो गई. When the ruh, soul is light, what happens? The soul will fly. And then if we continue to go further, fire is the example of a nur of Imam. When the Momin Salik continues to submit his or her free will to Imam and becomes one with that nur, becomes that light, that those are the four elements. Then comes the time, which is very, very, way above high, way above high. Fifth element, meaning that we have that nurani badan. What do we need to know? How do we know that we have that? If we understand, if that's the question too. First, we will have world of imagination, good world of imagination. Our reflection would be very powerful. In our reflection, we will ask questions and we will get answers. Then comes the world of dreams. So many things are being taught in the dreams, because as soon as we close eyes here, we actually go into the other world. But most do not remember their dreams and do not realize that they're in the other world. But in reality, as soon as we close eyes here, we are immediately into a different world. Why? Because this world is truly an illusion. It is not reality. When we are dreaming, when we are sleeping, we become totally unaware of our surrounding. We are totally in another world. That is the example how Momin Salik lives in this world and travels to other worlds. Momin Salik can travel to anywhere he wants, she wants. Why? Because they have this hunar, this skill, this darja they can attain. It is all possible for Mominins, those who follow the requirement. It is possible for us. Ji.
Subhanallah, subhanallah. Thank you. You responded actually to the next question also. There is one more question, the UFO and the flying saucers. Whose Nurani Badan are they? Angels or elevated souls?
You know, the beautiful answer would be, why don't you find out? It's a dawat, right? When we discuss things like that, this is very high above. It is very, very exalted state. Someone can get this when they truly kill their carnal soul. and they die and they are revived. When they are revived, then even after that, there is constant sacrifice, walking on the path to the extent that they can get the Nurani Badan. So it is a dawat for us that we should get our Nurani Badan and then find out and see whose Nurani Badans are there. Ji.
Subhanallah, subhanallah. Friends, if you have any questions, we can take one more question.
Sorry, Niyamat Ben. So, where does this astral traveling come? Would that be in that Nurani Badan?
It's one and the same thing actually. A Mu'min Salik does not have to go out as per se. See how we see everything in a space, in limitation of the space and time and all the physicality, right? Think of it as if you're dreaming. Let's take the example of dreaming because that will be easier to understand. In your dream, you can be here in Dallas, in USA, sitting with me, talking with me, eating, and we go for a walk and whatnot. But in reality, you are there in your room, on your bed, physically. But somehow you are coming and visiting me, and we had a good time together. How can you understand that? Was Yasmin here or there? When we talk of Nurani Badan does not have limitation of place or time. There is no limitation. Ji.
Subhanallah, subhanallah. May Mawla give us those eyes and understanding to get that Nurani Badan for ourselves, and may Mawla be in our dreams today to show us how.
Ameen. Yali Madad.
Yali Madad.
Yani madad.
يعني مدى
Yali Madad.
Yali
Yali
Madad.
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 يعني مدى
Yali Madad, Mama.
يعني مدى بما
Yali Madad, Yali Madad.
Yali